How's it going, everyone? It's a Nerd Friendly Podcast. It's Nicholas Long here and my lovely, lovely side companion, Mr. Brent Parker. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing good. I hope I can be called. What's the term for like side chick? But what's something that's like more elegant? Like I like side companion kind of. I like
Okay.
side piece maybe. I mean anything that basically would indicate we're in a full fledged physical relationship, and
hmm
but you are also currently taken by your wonderful wife. I'm sure
Well,
when she hears this, she's gonna really enjoy me.
should we take a picture of us holding hands and put it out in the next picture or something?
I think we should. I don't see why we shouldn't do that. In fact, I think we should just go ahead and change our entire everything as far as the pictures go. We should just genuinely change it to just you and I holding hands. That's all I'm saying. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I think that's what the people really want. So,
That's right. And then have like a Beatles song, like "Let It Be" or something, just beautiful like that.
oh
I
yeah, but we'll
like
have
it.
to do like a cheapo like knockoff version, so we don't get
Oh
sued out
yeah.
of our ass. So it'd have to be like
Let
let
me
it.
see
Yeah, like let.
your booby. I don't know. I remember there's always been a lot of people that like sneak it, like Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, dude.
He snuck the David Bowie Queen Under Pressure song, and he goes, well, their version's like this, bum 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 bum. Mine's this, bum 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 bum.
Yeah, he sounded like he's.
I remember thinking, like, if he can do that easily, then I mean, I might as well
Why
just start.
can't we? Why can't we? I love it, man. By the way, I was going to tell you, I really love the photo you made for this episode, only
Oh,
because I don't know any of these people, but I'm glad there are people holding my severed head. That's just a huge
yeah,
A
the
plus to
stranger
me.
with your head.
Yeah, I just love it, dude. It doesn't feel menacing at all. I love it, and I love the picture you used. It's A plus work. Oh, I just absolutely love it. Well, okay, and we should annotate real quick. We were gone last week because I'm not terrible per se, but I got roped into doing some work. So I had a very, very short notice for Nicholas to know that I wasn't going to be there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't do this episode, which we were supposed to do last week, because I got hemmed up at work. So that's on me. But on the upside, we're going to bring you extra wonderful content this week because we missed last week. That's a promise. We're going to stick to it. We're going to really.
Thanks for putting that pressure
I
on me.
know, right? If
I know
you
we
weren't
did a review
nervous,
of a movie right after this, guys.
yeah, if you weren't nervous, you are now. Welcome. But
Oh, geez.
we should, I guess, go right into the entertainment because actually it's a little sad today because I didn't know this gal very well because I wasn't super into like this scene. But an actress just passed away today, and actually I was looking at her entire filmography, and she is in fucking everything I watch.
hmm
It's
hmm
crazy. So go. I mean, you want to give us the rundown of that?
No, Cloris Leachman, everyone, 94 years old, was born 1926. One of the funniest people in show business, and she has been for 70 years. And I'm a big Mel Brooks fan. I'm sure you are too,
Oh,
Brent.
I love Mel
And
Brooks.
she was Frau Blucher. And I remember every time in the movie, someone would say her name. The horses, they would all like.
Yeah, they'd hear that neigh and stuff in the background. They'd lose their minds. Yeah, that was great.
But I remember watching everything that she's in. Malcolm in the Middle, she was the mean old like Polish grandma, and Raising Hope, she was the weird cuckoo grandma who's always trying weird things like trying to breastfeed little babies and stuff like that. And seeing like this 90-year-old woman that's running around like she's 25. I just remember thinking like it's kind of like a Betty White situation, but
Hmm.
a better actor, if that makes sense.
No, I mean totally. I,
So
I think yeah, you're right. She's been, and again, I don't know her very much, but as I read through her stuff, she's in the Croods. The Croods, whatever the new anime one that came out. Both of those, she's in both of those as Gran. She has been in Bob's Burgers, which I watched religiously, and she was this old gal who had about 9 lines, but oh my fucking god, every time she spoke was gold. Like, dude, I think her name is Marge or Marcy or something like that. Hilarious
no,
is
it's
the
not about
point.
right.
But the idea that like her entire career has spanned, like you said, 1926 when she was born, right? 19
Yeah. So
like
the mid 40s, she was Miss Chicago, and then she tried out for Miss USA, and then found the whole thing for comedy through it all somehow.
that's just nuts. But I mean, it's like it's to see that much of cinema, like just that idea to be there for like literally like the birth of cinema, the black and white, silly kind of weird. Everything was staged, like was set like a stage. When you shot film
Mhm.
back in the day, it was all set. Actors stood in specific spots, and it was all every conversation is kind of left to right, and everybody kind of gathers around. And then to see that, and then to the transitions now, like what we do with film, like you said with Raising Hope, all the cuts, all the different angles they utilize, everything, and to develop with all that on top of it, and then to remain consistently in cinema. All over the place. Animation, video, TV, movie. It's crazy. She was everywhere, dude. It's absolutely nuts. Like
She
her
was everywhere. Voice actor,
287.
everything.
287. That's documented film or show or whatever. She was an actress on 287. That's absolutely freaking nuts. So it's
and the thing about her too is if you watch a lot of her work, you'll notice that every time you watch her, she's like cuckoo in a different kind of way. And only real actors can pull that kind of thing off, where they're like, "Oh, I'm going to be a cuckoo, old-fashioned Polish lady in this, and then the other one, I'm going to be a cuckoo. I forgot that I'm a woman, and I thought I was a man trying to piece that up kind of way." So she was always all over the place, and every single time she was ever in the scene, she would always steal the show from no matter who it was.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
And Scotty, you're going to love this, buddy. Scotty, we had to talk about her about, I don't know, about 9, 10, 11 years ago. We were on the ship on deployment, and I remember we were talking about women that we were sexually attracted to. And he says Cloris Leachman. And I'm thinking at this time, she's like 87. and don't get me wrong, that's the right way of looking at it. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I always thought like, well, she's not even that good looking anyways. But he's like, it doesn't matter, man. She's so funny. I just love her, and I want her. I'm like, okay.
That's
and he'd bring it up casually, like here and there, every once in a while. Like I'd bring up, like having a little crush on Jason Momoa. He'd be like, yeah, but Cloris Leachman.
Yeah, look, the man's got canon, all right? He's got a point, all right, Miss Leachman? I mean, clearly, you got to love the body of work, and you may as well love the body of the woman while you're at it. I'm about it, but I'm on your page. I'm sorry. If I gotta give it up, I'm either giving up for Bruce Willis or Mr. Momoa. I mean, if they ever see this or watch this and are looking for a side husband, you can hit me up and get my digits. I'm good with
Jason
it.
Momoa can teach me how to throw like hammers and axes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
too.
he could teach me that, or he could just carry me around on his shoulder, and I'll be like a pet shit.
I could get Daenerys and I'd just be like, oh.
Momoa, I'm fainting. Catch me. That'd be.
I'm a straight man who would easily go gay for Jason Momoa.
Yeah,
easily.
easy. I think everybody's got like a list, and that's an easy. He's funny and he's like nice. He's pretty genuine, which is kind of cool about him too. Sorry, I'm getting off topic here, but the fact is, yeah, I'm all about it, dude. Yeah, 100%. I would switch teams for him. Hot minute. Sorry.
Did you ever watch Malcolm in the Middle?
Here's the thing. I never did. I tried several times when Malcolm in the Middle was like the hot thing, and I must have been 12 or 13 maybe. I'd have to see how old I was. But the point was, I tried several times because I used to have a lot of reruns on during like the day on several channels. One particular, which hell was it? TNT maybe? I can't remember. Point is, I attempted to watch Malcolm in the Middle Malcolm in the Middle 100 times, and every time I just thought, I really hate that mom. Like everybody else I would laugh at, and she would come on screen, and I'd be like, this makes me uncomfortable and sad because I do not like her.
In what way, like bad acting, or like you just didn't like her face?
The character. The character was so like, I mean, and again, that's the point, right? She's kind of supposed to just grind you a little bit.
Yeah, she's so hardcore.
Yeah, and that's what she did. She did it so hard on me. I was just like, no, I'm okay. Bye-bye. Like, I couldn't do it. I never made it through an episode because of it. Never did.
Well, the cool thing about it, first of all, this is where they found Bryan Cranston to do Breaking Bad, because they would see him. Bryan Cranston's a very physical actor, and you'd see him in little gold mines like Seinfeld, where he would take like that episode and be like, oh man, there's an episode when this one guy just completely makes Jerry feel like an idiot, and you find out later on in life, oh, that's Bryan Cranston, and he's in like 5 or 6 episodes, and every single time he just like makes everything hard for Jerry. And I'm thinking, this guy's great. And then you watch Malcolm in the Middle, and people don't realize, because this came out a little bit before Breaking Bad, that Bryan Cranston has always been gifted. He's great in this. His physical comedy in this, it's hard to explain. It's kind of like in between Roseanne and then a typical sitcom, but there's no laughter and like that. It's
no laugh track, right? I mean, it
I hate laugh track.
You shouldn't enjoy any show that has to utilize a laugh track to encourage you to laugh at a joke is probably not doing its job. I'd say a little
absolutely.
bit.
But anyways, there's so many characters on the show that are engaging, but then all of a sudden Cloris Leachman comes on, and then she has this really hardcore Polish like accent, and then she has one leg, and she takes her leg out and like hits her her grandkids with it, and then she's like, and she has a cigarette, and she puts it on the couch, and this is the kind of character that it reminded me of what's the stand-up comedian's name? Maybe the best badass stand-up comedian, Joan Rivers.
Oh, okay.
She kind of had a little Joan Rivers kind of like passion to her, a little bit of like
little that grit.
yeah, that grit. Thank you, that grit.
Mm-hmm.
She had that true grit, in fact.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
And
I see what you're doing
but then
there.
she also had a little bit of everything else, and her timing. And that's one thing about especially comedians like Robin Williams or something like that, is their timing is what makes them the best.
Mm-hmm.
And she would come in there and she'd do her lines, but she would do it to the point where everyone else is just watching her going, geez, you're killing it. Always. For 70 years.
Yeah.
So
and that's like that's a stunner. 70 years.
Yeah.
And then understanding that between like, I mean, and most actors fade out around 65, 70, you know. There are very few who hang around. I mean, you got Anthony Hopkins and a few others, but I mean collectively, right? Like you're pretty tight casted at that age level.
Mhm.
But the fact that not only was she throughout her whole career basically lived and breathed through comedy, but did it so successfully, then on top of it was still funny and still clever and still absolutely on point up until the very tail end. Like that's incredible to me. Like the fact that you can be, she's at 96 is when she passed, right? And I think she was
94,
still 94,
yeah.
And she was still working, if I recall.
Yes.
So-
I mean, she still had a lot of works. Like if you look up her upcoming thing, it's like everyone still wanted her. Everyone's been wanting her. I mean, she might have had these. I was looking up trying to find like some dry time she had, like everyone has. No, nothing. It's just constant.
No, that's
and when you look at her stuff, like I said, if you actually like even like oh, I'll just scan something real quick. I'll just pick a little thing out of the filmography, and then I'll kind of watch a little clip it on YouTube, and then all of a sudden you just see her just owning it. So I was a little heartbroken today, and I wasn't too heartbroken because she's 94.
Yeah, man.
But I remember talking to Brent. You're Brent.
I'm
I remember
Brent.
talking
Hi.
to Scotty about it. About like I said 8 years ago, and thinking, well, she's kind of like Betty White, where she's going to be immortal and never die. And sadly, today is the day. But I thought, you know, because I was going to talk about WandaVision with you.
Oh, we should do an
and we still
episode
can,
on that.
definitely. Yeah, we still can. But I was going to talk about that with you and tell everyone else, you know, what we thought about and, you know, what we think is going to happen, all that jazz, and we still can. But then I thought, oh, well, she passed away today, and I'm a huge Mel Brooks. Like, I think Mel Brooks is probably my favorite comedic director. I think even though it's silly and slapstick and
but that's the best part,
simple,
in my opinion.
It's the best part. Yeah. It goes off the heartstrings of what makes us giggle in the first place.
It does. I think easily the fact that she worked so close with Mel Brooks, she fits that very, very well. I mean, Mel Brooks is also someone who started in cinema again at its birth, right? Like back when it was really becoming a big thing. So, and I agree. I think anybody who can, first off, last that long, but on top of it, be working with so many individuals who are so fantastic in just the history of her career is
hanging out with like Gene Wilder and all these like amazingly talented people. And then you still going, geez, you just stole that scene from people like Gene Wilder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, pour one out for the homies. But again, you got to admit, 94, I mean, you had a good run.
Yeah.
So, and on top of that, you're immortalized in film forever, that people will get to see you and always like appreciate your body of work. So you got to be, you know, really appreciative of that too, of everything she did put into cinema and allow us to really, really enjoy. Because I myself, like I said, dude, I was surprised at how much I found out she was in, because you knew way more about her than I did before this, and I was stunned just going through it. Like, I was like, I have laughed at all of this, all these things you have done, all these characters you have performed. I've laughed at every single one of them. Not one of those made me go, I don't know. No, she kills it and everything she touches.
Yeah, you weren't just trying to do a little quick research and like, oh yeah, I guess, you know, she's okay. No, you're watching it, and this is something that I used to get deep with anyone who wanted to listen. I'm like, hey, I do this thing with anyone, like on the ship or all my life, saying, hey, top 5 acting performances or something like that. And I'd always say like top 5 comedy movies, and of course something like Young Frankenstein and Spaceball. I could say all Mel Brooks comedies. They're like
Young Frankenstein, Men in
I mean, the only thing
any one of those, you can just throw it out. It doesn't
matter.
matter.
And then Blazing Saddles, to me, I mean, that's the first movie that when I remember watching it going, first of all, they use the N-word so much, but they're doing all these cursing. But then you find out, and I was young, I probably shouldn't have been watching that young, but I remember thinking like, well, first of all, why is everyone treating this black guy bad? I mean, what's going on with that? And that's how young I was, sadly. Where just like, well, that black guy's just like us, you know.
This is different. I don't know what's happening. I don't get it.
You know, my neighbor's black, and I don't have a problem with him.
He just showed up. Is this a term of endearment? It doesn't seem to be one.
Yeah, they're not being very kind to him. That's not very. But I remember watching it, and it was the first time I remember seeing someone just completely make fun of racism, just like, you guys are so ignorant. And
Mhm.
it was beautiful. I remember thinking like, this is silly. It's making anyone who's racist look stupid, and
Yeah.
and that's Mel Brooks' style. And he just and she is one of those people that was always a part of that kind of generation where she's like, I'm a woman. Typically, for some stereotypical reason, women aren't funny as men are, but guess what? That's bullshit. Because here's proof. Here's me,
Mhm.
and I'm as talented as anyone. Like it's funny. I would always think, in terms of empowering women, she was always up there. So
Oh yeah.
it sucks, but it sucks. But like I said, at the end of the day, she's 94. She wasn't 60, uh, which is way too young. I mean, in my opinion, I thought she was going to be 300 before she passed, but 94 is okay, I guess.
Dude, we just gotta get on that science and replace all of our people meat with metal. That's where we gotta get to. Then everybody can live forever, and we can never have to
I
worry
told my
about the
wife
sand.
that. I was like, hey, that episode of Black Mirror where they just put your consciousness in a digital like format and you can just play out your dreams all back and forth, or like Vanilla Sky with the Tom Cruise movie.
Mm-hmm. Or
I
what's that one they did with the chips the back of your neck? Oh my god, altered carbon. I love the idea of altered carbon. I thought that was so cool. Just like, okay, there you go, pop. I mean, it was a little weird when like the very first scene is like he's waking up in this young fresh body and there's those people waiting for their daughter and she's like 90. I was like, oh my god, that's messed up. That was unfortunate. However, just keep pop me in 90-year-olds, bro. You don't have to though. If you have.
we can't talk about that. On this channel,
Moving
okay?
right along. Nailed it. It's not a sex thing. Jesus.
But you know what's sad about that is I started watching it without a celly, and we were really liking it. I sadly just have a problem with the actor Joel. I can't say his last name. I saw him in RoboCop, and it
Oh,
wasn't necessarily his fault, but I didn't like the movie, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way with him.
that's funny. I watched the first season and loved it. Second season with the dude who's Falcon.
Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, dude. I did not get sold to his performance at all because I think the previous guy nailed the noir nature of it. I think the special thing about Altered Carbon is how noir and how sci-fi, how it blends those two so well. And I thought that he did a really good job. He fit both physically, the look of him, and then his overall performance. I thought was very good. Because I was excited to see the second season, and I thought it was neat they're changing up actors, and I was like, oh yeah, this dude. It's like, I really want to see that dude like get his chops out there and really get into something that isn't just action, that has some depth and some like nasty grit to it, kind of, some rough side. And I think Altered Carbon is huge on that. And I watched about 4 episodes, and I just went, despite my interest a little bit in the story, just this actor right now, like his portrayal of this entire thing. I'm like you for the first season. I just, it was something about that I just couldn't, just didn't sit with me, and I didn't enjoy it. I thought that was very strange.
And I like Anthony Mackie and everything else. I think he's a good actor. So that's a shame that it couldn't really fit for him. He was also in the worst season of Black Mirror, the last season, in my opinion. And it was all like, because everything before that in Black Mirror was all British made, and it had a certain kind of quality that was British style. And then they did the 4th season in American with like Miley Cyrus and such, and the stories were much weaker, and just wasn't a fan as much.
Yeah, I think, and I don't watch a lot of Black Mirror because it's one of those shows that it pushes boundaries so well that I get upset like watching it, because it really does. It does a fantastic job.
It
of,
really
like,
does, absolutely.
Yeah.
It tells you like, hey, technology is this, but it's also that, and it's scary.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of it is kind of scary and kind of unnerving. And I think that's something particular though to the way England and the UK does media. They have a lot more leniency to do more intense, kind of gritty things without having to just be on a streaming platform, so to speak. They can kind of just do stuff like that live. They can just do it and damn be the consequences, kind of. They'll just tackle that shit. And I think that's amazing. And I think that's probably part of what suffered going with the Americanized ways. Americans, we like to in our cinema particularly, obviously, especially if you like action and horror.
Yeah, we glorify violence.
We glorify it, and we turn it up to 10 or 11
stuff, yeah.
on whatever it is. And I think with Black Mirror and things of that nature, where it's pushing the boundary of something philosophically and something that you need to question, I think we're a little weaker in that regard. And I think it takes a very special director and pilot at the head of everything to really get what Black Mirror continues to get for the first 3 seasons. So I could see that. I can see that.
I think that they're pretty much The whole thing, reason why Black Mirror, in my opinion, is just like you said, it's just eye opening, is because it brings up a situation going on right now, and then it sci-fi's it a little bit, and it says,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this could kind of happen in 5, 10, 30 years or something like that. Like the whole idea how you can everything you see, your eyes see, and it kind of your optical, everything records it, and then you could watch it later on TV. And then if like, let's say your wife cheats on you, and then you're like, hey, I don't believe you. Let me see what you did today. And then she has to show you. And then you're seeing everything that it's just fast forwarding through it on the TV. And then all of a sudden it shows her like looking at a guy, and then like, and then, doing, and then he's looking at that, looking at her. And then, it just sounds very messy.
It's so invasion.
I know it's cringy, but like in a very interesting way.
Yeah, but it's not cringy in like, oh, this is just, it's cringy because it's uncomfortable. The ideas that we would have to tackle, and the ideas it does tackle, and the things we would have to face if the world kind of would lean into like some of these ideas and some of these concepts is fantastic. Sorry, we got way off because we can't help ourselves.
And that's why Cloris Leachman is going to be extremely missed, everyone.
Black Mirror is why. That's, note it, write it down. That nailed it. Excellent transition. We killed it. Well, real quick, can we do just like give me 5 minutes where we talk about in brief how we feel about WandaVision? And I want to start by telling you, because I want to see what your reaction is. I watched the first 2 episodes and I did not want to watch the rest of it. Is that weird?
It wasn't very good.
Okay, and now here's the thing. With that being said, it was good, and this is what I told Crystal. Because it was so true to its source material, I literally felt like I was watching an antiquated antiquated sitcom. Like, that is something special that I don't think a lot of things can do very, very well. And by what I mean is, like, they did a live audience for the first and the second episode of our call. They did stringed props.
I thought it was just an obvious fake, like let's leave the Beaver, Lucy kind of thing, just like a little nod to that time.
Crystal
period.
was
they even sleep in separate beds and everything, just like kind of like, because just to show like
I Dream of Jeannie, I think was one of the ones that, or Bewitched. Or
Bewitched probably is the one I would think is more accurate.
Yeah,
when she does the whole like, oh, we have people coming over, boom, and then that's definitely like a Bewitched thing, which I loved Bewitched, not the movie, the TV show.
Yeah, and that's what I found to be the thing, though. That's what found, like, I didn't want to watch it because it did too little of the breadcrumb trail for me to want to go back and follow it, because I felt so actually in that era of cinema. I genuinely felt, and it was so corny and kind of so dumb to me, despite the fact that my brain was processing what that show is. I was just going, I don't want to watch an I Dream of Jeannie. I don't want to watch a Bewitched. I don't want to watch these. It doesn't. And then they did that one creepy moment where I'm like, that's weird. But there wasn't enough of it to make me go back. And same with the second. Now, the third one, finally, right towards the tail end, when they finally really gave me a hook, I'm interested to see more of it. Now I'm definitely interested. What did you think? And it sounds like we're on the same page, but I want to hear your input on 1 and 2 and then 3. Like, what do you...
Yeah, well, so at first I'm thinking, cool, it's refresh, and this is what we talked about with the whole Doctor Strange and this. We knew it was gonna be something different, and I was expecting that. I was happy with that because I know she's the Scarlet Witch, maybe the most powerful mutant in the whole thing, and they haven't really showcased that as much as they could. But she is theoretically one of the more powerful ones. And this whole thing, I'm thinking, okay, I like this. I love Lucy and shows like that. I always have. I used to watch Nick at Night all the time just so I could watch those. And so I was excited for the first half of the episode, and then I started realizing that they're not really doing anything different yet. So I was like, okay. And then at the very end of the first episode, you see like someone is like watching them on a camera, and they're like the Mr. Claw from Inspector Gadget just watching them. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe they're in a big old like situation like what was that game, that Portal?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a big old like experiment, and they're just watching how they are, or someone like some mutant that has some kind of powers that locked her in there or something. I'm thinking, I'm kind of doing an imagination thing, like making it better than it is. And then second episode, the same thing happens, and they do that little sing along at the park with everyone. And even though Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany are killing it being silly, I still felt like it was shitty acting. So I was like, okay. And then the third episode happened, and the first half where the neighbor's talking to him, and then finally the other neighbors are like, hey, that lady's not from here. and that's when I got the whole Twilight Zone thing, and it gave me a good like butterfly, and I'm like, okay, this is more like it. Now let's and then she says, you know, your brother got killed, and I'm like, okay, this is what I was expecting. This is good. So it ended like exactly how you said. It ended better than the rest of the episodes did. So I'm more curious now, but they have a lot of making up.
Thank you. I think you're right. I don't know that I can sit through 3 or 4 more episodes where I only get a little piece. I really need it to start to develop. And by develop, I mean I need to see it shift from it's fun and campy and silly and definitely different, but now I need to return to a semblance of normalcy. I need the show now to actually take on the aspects of watching and it doesn't have to be a Marvel show per se, explosions and heroes. No, just the progression of a show. I need to now see a modernized progression of the show, or I'm very likely to just be like, all right, screw it. I'll wait till it's done. I don't care anymore. I'm not watching all the way through these just to sit and wait. And it's funny because the difference is Crystal's really, really into it. She really likes it. She loves Wanda.
I saw her comment on Facebook, and I, I just bit my lip because I mean, everyone has their opinion, but I just wanted to be like, oh, I disagree.
But
I love you, Crystal.
Admittedly, I think that's the special thing about it is I think for people who are huge fans of those two characters though, and because Crystal's a huge fan, and talking with her,
I'm a huge fan of Elizabeth Olsen. I think she killed it in that one remake of that movie where they trapped Josh Brolin in that room and he trains. What's that called? And then she ends up being his daughter. And
the guy old boy.
Yeah, old boy. Yeah. And I know that and the Korean, the original is excellent. Yeah. I mean, better than that. But the Spike Lee version was really good too. And I remember thinking, what a disturbing little twist. And then she was great in that. And she's great in everything, even roles that are not necessarily that great. She does fine in. So I was excited to see this. And then she has the whole, just like her two sisters, she has the whole sitcom kind of feel like, you got it, dude. But
she does a really good job in the shows they mimic. I think what's important here, and I think this is what separates it apart from like myself to her, to my wife, is that, I mean, Crystal was like, oh, there's this Easter egg, there's this Easter egg, there's this Easter egg. And she's seeing Easter eggs as the show is progressing. His Vision's tie, the Death's mask in the wall, and all these really neat kind of things that I know nothing about, that I'm not even noticing. And Crystal's like, oh yeah, there's this, and there's that, and there's this. And to hear, it's really fun to talk to her about it because of her passion for like how I appreciate how much love they put into that. I don't get any of the stuff that's going on, and I just want to get to the part where I can start understanding and get me hooked as just an average wanting to watch a Marvel Disney show, get me to that part. But I think it's fascinating where the people who I've talked to who really enjoy those characters of Wanda and Vision are immediately sold on this. They are so sold because for them it fits so well. And I think that's what's neat, is I think this is a very, not polarizing show, but I think it's definitely a hard start for those who are not like these two characters. Like if this was Captain America and like it was something like that, I'd be all over it. I'd be like, yes, anything you can give me, like salivate or help my brain, give me the secrets. But since it's not that for me, it was harder to get into, and I think maybe we're on a very similar wavelength there a little bit, because I love Paul Bettany. I think he does great, and I think Elizabeth Olsen does great.
Paul Bettany's great in everything. I think that it all comes down to is like, for example, Mandalorian, it's excellent, but when they do the Obi-Wan Kenobi, it better not be the same tone. It better not be completely different. I want a different feel. I don't want like a Western feel. I want more of like a sensible Jedi feel. So the same thing for this. I don't mind the psychedelic kind of stuff going on with this. I just need there to be a reason for it eventually.
I like that.
And I need it to be soon.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect statement. The psychedelic stuff and the creepy stuff is awesome, and like the weird psychosis of it that we're all experiencing through watching this is fascinating. But like you just said, I think you nailed it. It needs to kind of now pay off a little sooner, because I can't do 10 episodes. I can't get to episode 9 like, and in episode 10 we're gonna give you everything. I'm like, I'm skipping right to 10. I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, that's like a move that those one shows do, like
Burn Notice, or any USA show. Pick a USA show, and that's what it does. It's your first episode is absolutely like, whoa, this guy's cool. He's like a super secret spy, and he's been disowned by his organization. That's wild. And he's got to go hunt this dude down. Cool, let's see him do that. It's 6 fucking episodes of him rescuing cats from trees. And on the 7th episode, or at the end of the 6th, they're like, oh, wait, that's his old love come back. And you're like, what? What's this? What? Tell me more. Tell me more. And then episode 7, what's he doing? I don't know. He's volunteering at a soup kitchen. It's like, what the fuck, man? God. Sorry. I'm very impassioned about how mad that makes me. I hate it. I cannot stand. That's bad writing. If you're out there and you're writing a show,
Bruce Campbell's on it though.
He's a god, but it doesn't matter. It's bad writing, despite how great Bruce Campbell would be and is. Okay, it's just sorry.
Well, Evil Dead was kind of bad writing, but who cares?
But it was so okay.
It was
great. It was great. Evil Dead. Sorry, I'm getting excited.
Their chemistry, I will say, because I watched a little bit of the show, not a lot, because I don't usually watch those kind of shows. I am sadly very spoiled when it comes to shows because there are so many, and it was. I blame shows like Sopranos. It was your fault. You were like the first show that I ever watched that was like, oh, this is like a movie, but 40, 50, 60 hours long. And then I expect everything to be of that quality. And if it's not, then lazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm horrible. I'm like any like sitcoms and stuff like that now, they get such a bad rap from me almost immediately because like I said, I think if you're using a laugh track, you're not doing your job. You're not doing your job as a writer and being funny in the way you should be funny because you're encouraging people to laugh through the reaction of a laugh track is terrible. But
yes, they always put laugh track in a weird place too. I never understood that.
It's weird and it sets off the timing a little bit. And I don't like laugh tracks. But the idea is the fact that, like you just said, like, dude, you have Sopranos, you have Mandalorian, you have a whole bunch of shows now we can just reach and poke at collectively. And even the ones that you would consider like lower tier, like the perfect example I think is like, what's his name? Luke Cage. The Cage movie, the Cage show. It's not even like a really great show, but comparatively that show to the sitcoms or the normal running TV shows of like 10 years past, I'm like, this is gold. This is a gold standard compared to that. And I'm with you. I'm on the same page. I like cohesive, tight, consistent, progressive stories. That's really what I've come to expect from cinema and especially from TV shows now. I don't like patchwork stuff. I want to tell me a story in a season, and if you get renewed, great. Tack on that next part of your story for season 2. I'm all about that.
Yes, and like Mandalorian did it very well, where even like their kind of filler-ish episodes were still kind of showing character development, so it still works for everyone. Then you have shows like Smallville, where they have 25 episodes per season, and 3 of them have story. And I always found that insulting. But if you stayed for the first and the last episode, it's like, oh, cool. We're going to find out more about, General Zod or something. But that's for 45 minutes. And then I got to wait a whole year to find out 45 more minutes. And then all of a sudden, the baddie of the day. I hate baddies of the day.
Yeah, me too. I like
a Power Ranger episode.
I like the Mandalorian pacing. I think it's very particularly special. And I think it's special because of the Western nature. Obviously, it clones itself faster. The whole thing is a Western. Its shot, its tone, its vibe, the story itself of a man and child versus everybody else, like the wilds, the space, is very, very Western. What is so good about Mandalorian is you can do a show like Mandalorian in those, like, you would call them like piecemeal things, but they do 2 things. Number 1, they consistently show his development and his caring towards this small child. And number 2, it is fascinating for the fact that not fascinating, it's acceptable because he's a bounty hunter. We would all love to see basically the Punisher show could have just been the Punisher every 6 episodes going and murdering a whole bunch of mobsters. None of us would have batted an eye because it's the Punisher. That is what we expect. And the Mandalorian taught us to expect. He's just a bounty hunter. So if he would literally just go back to the quest hub every day, find the guy with the yellow exclamation point, take his bounty, head on out, do some business, come on back. If he did that for 12 episodes, we'd understand it. Just logically, we'd be like, this is how it works. This is his job. It's what he does. But they do so good by taking it in that regard first and then bonding the child to him in there and then watching him search for the understanding of like that paternal relationship and how that forms, what it is for us to see what a foundling is and to watch them develop both him socially and then finding out the other cool little tidbits of like his is a religious like psychotic sect of these people. Like it's these small pieces that they give to us without a ton of exposition that tell us this world is varied and vast. And he's doing what he needs to do right now to progress to the next part, comparatively to Burn Notice. The man's doing what he's doing because someone wrote a dumb episode about saving a cat from a tree. And I exaggerate a bit when I say that, but that's literally the difference, is this progresses no matter what with Mandalorian. While Burn Notice and other stuff, it's just there to make you sit down and watch advertisements every 10 minutes so they get paid. That's what it brings you in for, and you can feel the difference in that. So,
Well, it's like watching any modern big news companies or watching a podcast. I would rather watch a podcast any day because first of all, the information is going to be much more personal and like tight lip, and it's not going to be as much bullshit. And then second of all, it's people's personalities that you fall in love with. So it's kind of like that with anything else. But yeah, we're spoiled with such good things.
We're spoiled rotten, dude. 100%.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Nick, I love talking with you. Jesus, I know people must sit down and like listen to this and like, I thought they're going to talk about makeup effects and visual effects and practical, and we've instead spent literally 30 minutes doing whatever we want. And despite that might be good or bad for the show, I love it. It makes me so super happy to do this with you. It is unreal. But I want to pick your brain now because tonight's topic is about makeup effect artists and, you know, what we'd say is practical effects in cinema. Now, you went to school for this, so your knowledge of this is so above and beyond mine. It's going to be a wonderful session where I get to ask questions and pick your brain a little bit and understanding these things. But one thing I want to start with out of this is, what do you think in like the last, we'll even give it the last 10 to 15 years of cinema, what have been outstanding practical effects to you? And I can only think of like 3 or 4 off the top of my head. But I assume you have probably a plethora of these things that are particularly special in this field. And maybe you can help us understand the idea of like why we would use practical effects when you can just CGI everything, if you want to kind of take it from either of those points.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so the reason why practical effects, Brent, is so important is because our eye detects fakeness. So you watch something like Revenge of the Sith, and you can just see all over the place fakeness. Even though as cool as it looks, you see stuff flying by. That's all you see. Your eyes just like, oh, it's cool how they flew by, but I mean, I wasn't feeling it. Back in the old days, they were having an actual small miniature that they would paint and then make it really, really like small details, and then they would zoom in on it, and then your eye was saying, oh, there's an actual object there. So then you would feel more of the threat of the thing. Now, Revenge of the Sith, you know, there's General Grievous. There's all these guys running around, but there's no one really there, so it's not scary. But you have something like Underworld, where they have visual effects, but they're only there to enlighten the practical effects. So you have practical effects. You have the first coat where they kind of have like the I'm starting to morph, and then they pan off it. They put it back on. Second stage, more morphine. And when you do that kind of thing, it tells the audience like this is a real thing happening. If you've ever watched, have you ever watched American Werewolf in London?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the movie itself, I mean, it's great because it's one of the first of its kind, but it's also great because it shows this disgustingly painful transformation happening to him, and you're watching it and he's screaming, and it's the most painful, torturous thing you've ever seen. And then it shows the stages, and they're all practical effects, and you're watching it and you just want to cry because
It's
you're
unnerving.
feeling
Yeah.
it's very unnerving, and it's long.
Uh-huh.
And
It's like a 2-minute scene, right?
Yeah, it is. It's like a 2-minute scene, and it's just showing this. And I remember thinking after I watched this movie, because what gave me the chills was not the movie itself, is what it, like just that little 2 minutes of the pain. And it's because you know, we all say like, oh yeah, I watched Twilight, or I watched this one movie and I would love to be a werewolf. And then you're thinking, no, because the way that practical effect was done, they're cursed, and it's obvious from the pain that they're going through. And you can only see that through that kind of situation. If you put a really good graphics, like visual effects on there, Brent, like when they did the whole thing with Luke Skywalker, when they put his face on for Mandalorian, it threw me off the scene. I could see exactly that it was obviously well done, and it was beautiful. It was obviously Mark Hamill's likeness, but I could see that they were having him, like the actor, like stand still, and he would barely move because you could tell that they were having trouble.
Like they painted just this set right over his face and said, okay, now make sure you look right at the camera because everything's going to happen right here.
Yes.
Well, obviously we talk and have a very different animation to our face. I agree with that statement. I'm really glad you said Underworld first off, because it's the one that comes to mind when I think of practical effects, because I'm probably terrible because I love my CGI effects and everything else. Sure. And I always find some practical effects to me are very, very, like you said, they reinforce the idea of like, sorry, CGI reinforces the ideas of the practical, and I think Underworld was one of those for me because I still thought the suits were kind of silly, and I could tell, like, you know, when, because I mean, obviously, right, your brain knows it's not real when you're of a certain age anyway, but like some of the lycanthrope stuff and everything was just not like my speed and my style, particularly the one where they run along the walls. It basically looks like there's.
It came after Matrix. I think that's the only reason why they're doing that kind of stuff.
And I agree. I think that's the only reason they were doing it. But I know it's at that point where I went, well, that's where I would use CGI. Well, comparatively, like you said, with American Werewolf in London, that scene is literally like it's straight up trauma. If you are like 8 or younger and you watch that scene, it is going to ruin you forever because it is intense. The way they show, like, I believe it's his shoulders when they pop and they shift and the skin splits. I think it's right at the shoulders. It's upsetting. It is incredibly upsetting. It is visceral and it is awful. But it makes me, that's the stuff I appreciate with the practical effect, not the horror side, but the idea that in my mind still, I know that that's fake, but I also know how, like, intense that is. It makes me think of, they did the werewolf, 2010 maybe. They remade the werewolf. What's his name?
Yeah, what do you call
Wolfman. Was it Wolfman?
Wolfman. Yeah, Benicio del Toro.
Thank you. Yeah, and I thought for a werewolf film, I thought that was very good. But if I recall, that was a lot of CGI as well. And now that you bring up the comparison kind of between, well, the idea of the practical effect of Werewolf in London to that, I don't remember very much of the transitional phase in Wolfman because if I recall, it was mostly CGI. I don't think it was very practical. Now I have to go back and watch it.
It was practical.
Was it? Oh man,
yeah,
it just didn't stick with me at all.
It was actually the same makeup artist. In fact, it was Rick Baker.
No way. Because my brain doesn't remember that at all. But I remember American Werewolf in London. I remember that. It's not fun.
Well, I think that's also like it was a different kind of, like, the makeup artist can only do so much, and a lot of times they would say, "Hey, director, I get that you're awesome at what you do, but don't you dare tell me how a thing should look because I know because they study anatomy and biology, so they understand, like, that doesn't make sense what you're trying to tell me. That would not work for any kind of humanoid." And then sometimes the director's like, "I don't care, I want you to do it that way." And then all of a sudden the movie comes out and people are like, "The monster is stupid." And then it's just one of those things. But what was I talking about before I jumped over there?
No, hang on. We were talking about the comparison of practical effects and a little bit of Underworld.
But okay, I know I was getting at. But the difference between Wolfman and American Wolf in London, I think, was the idea of the direction. I think that the direction in Wolfman was not clear cut, and you could kind of tell throughout the movie watching anyways that it was kind of all over the place a little bit. It wasn't a bad movie by any means, but it wasn't great. I think I even watched that movie with you, actually.
I think we did. I want to say we watched it because I know I watched it with three or four people, and I think Crystal was one of them. But it could very well have been you as well. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I think the difference is it does not show the curse itself, like how this is actually, like, this sucks. Wolfman was just more like, "Oh, I don't want my woman to see, and what's happening to me." But it wasn't showing the same kind of pain that American Werewolf of London was showing. Same thing. Rick Baker also did the Thriller music video, which best music video of all time in my opinion. Michael Jackson's Thriller. Yeah. And if you watch, there's the cool thing. I remember I was a kid, Brent, and you could buy the VHS of the actual, like, whole video, and then like 30 minutes of the special makeup effects. And Michael Jackson, as we all know, had a mindset of an 8-year-old, so he wanted them to do all the makeup on him, and he was just having a lot of fun with it. And you see that the guy doing the werewolf, and he does like 5 different stages, and you can kind of remember whenever in the music video it goes back and forth and he's a little bit more. Same idea as American Werewolf in London, same director in fact as the American Werewolf in London.
Oh my goodness. But that guy apparently just done everything werewolf. They've just done everything werewolf. I wanted to bring it because I think this is really, really neat. Because Crystal and I told her what we were talking about tonight, and she drew this to my attention. She listens to a lot of podcasts and a lot of horror and true crime stuff. And here's what I think is really, really neat. And this kind of speaks maybe to the level of practical effect that I've never seen, but the idea that cinema has evolved from these things. There was a film. It was released in Italy. And I don't know if you know this about it. It's called Cannibal Holocaust. Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay, let me give you the rundown, okay? Long story short, it's a real gore flick. I think it's 1970s it was shot. 1990. 1980. Yep, 1980 it was shot. So here's the thing, okay? When this film is released and is seen, it opened in Italy is where it was shot. Authorities arrested the director His name is Diotados. I can't remember his name. Okay, they arrest him after this opens. They arrest him and they charge him with murder because they are certain 100% there is no way that one of the scenes depicted there of a young woman being murdered was faked. It couldn't have been done because it was so real. It was so graphic. And what I find fascinating about this is not only does this man get arrested and they set him up for trial and everything, but his actors at the time actually had a disclosure in their contract where they couldn't be seen or be dealt with by the media for a set period of time while this film was released to increase the level of, like, you know, horror, so to speak, of they're missing, they're dead, they're gone, they vanished, so on and so forth. So anyway, they actually had to break that disclosure to pull the actors in court to show they were alive and well because the practical effects were so good, people genuinely believed that they were real. And I don't know the last time we've seen something like that in cinema in a very, very long time, especially for me. I think we've moved so heavily to CGI and everything that it doesn't surprise me now when we go the CGI route, and I'm more than comfortable and happy with it. But I just thought, coming from your perspective, what does that say to you as far as like the individuals responsible for that kind of practical effect? Is that something to be like really excited about and honored, so to speak, to that it's that genuine or feels that real?
Oh,
Or
absolutely. Like I said, he's probably that guy who studied the body and how it works. These people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Lee, they didn't become the best because of just their hard work. They became the best because they studied everything about their body and how the body is able to achieve so much and all these things. They studied vitamins and medicines and stuff like that to show how can the body progress. Same idea. I guarantee you an undertaker or a mortician, they would probably be really good at practical effects because they would understand if you punch someone in this spot, their eye will pop out. If you punch them over here, it'll bruise right here. And then we need to put little blood, in the pores right there. And if you don't know that kind of stuff and you're just putting, black around your eye, it's going to look stupid. And I think that's why some of these makeup artists, like when you're watching a movie and you're seeing someone like cutting into someone and you're seeing blood triple in a way that makes you feel like this is too real. I mean, that's probably because they did their homework. And usually those kind of scenes is what makes you usually feel the most uncomfortable because it's just like, okay, I came to watch like a Transformers Michael Bay kind of movie. And then, I'm now getting this guy who's bleeding in this kind of way that reminds me of working back in the ER or something like that.
It's very visceral, right?
Yeah.
We have a very physical reaction to it, and I think that's kind of the I think is fascinating. I think that's so neat. Is that level of practical effects. And again, I have trouble right now, like thinking of what in cinema recently has given me that. Like what in cinema has recently like given me, beyond seeing monsters and stuff of that nature, nothing really recent in cinema for me. And it's not to say that practical effects are losing work or anything per se, but I'm starting to feel like maybe that is a case. Or maybe the idea is that, well, we can just CGI a lot of this and people will really like it, because I think there is a level of detail that CGI provides. But like you said, my eye looks for it to see that it's fake. It looks to see that something is superimposed on something else, that something is too smooth, so to speak, right? Some skin is too smooth. There's something, the animation is incorrect. The way it moves, the way the world itself should react around whatever I'm seeing is not behaving correctly. While despite like the rubbery maskness of something, at the same time, like with Underworld, when you see the lycanthropes like bite that dude's face off, there's that really close scene, if I recall. There's like his mouth is right here and there's a dude here and it lunges. But to watch, the movement is odd, but the motion of the face and everything that kind of happens feels very genuine. When they attack that vampire chick on the train, or they come to the aftermath of that attack on the
When
train.
they get the antlers.
Yeah, exactly. That's another one of those where, like, when I think back to, I'm like, that actually feels a little uncomfortable because it really looks like a bunch of ripped, torn up corpses, a lot of viscera and a lot of really gross stuff all over the place, that my mind says if someone was swiped across the chest with razor sharp claws at like 100 miles an hour, it's probably going to spill stuff in that. Like, my brain just says that looks right. My brain just did quick math of its own volition and said, that looks pretty real to me. That's weird. I've never seen that, but it looks right. And I wonder... Go ahead.
Oh no, a lot of it too. The problem is with CGI though, is if you don't have the like the lighting down like perfectly always, your eye will catch out immediately too. And I don't know if I'm sure, did you watch the Mandalorian gallery, the special feature stuff?
I didn't. No.
Oh my gosh, talk about new awesome technology. It's not Black Mirror. they have this really badass like planetarium kind of thing, Brent, and then they do this awesome artwork where they show like, let's say there's the scene
Oh,
where
I know what you're
it's
talking
in
about. Yeah, go ahead.
desert Tatooine, and anyways, it'll be like this big old projector that puts that kind of lighting out, so then they can be in this little area, and then it could be any time of the day. They don't have to wait for dusk or anything like that. It could be any time of the day, and they have the perfect shot 100% of the time. And the reason why it works is because they're putting real shadows and real depth, and contour and contrast and all that awesomeness on the actors. And it's not because when you do the visual effects stuff and you have to add that in there, you could be amazing at it and spend years on it, and there's still going to be something like, hey, well, that whenever that thing went around them, like this, right, like the blue light right here,
Mm-hmm.
if I was trying to do that digitally, it's gonna like, well, something's weird. Like
It's gonna
it's
look
like a
too
white
soft.
light.
It's gonna look
Yeah,
too
it's something like
smooth
its
or
skin's doing
shifted.
something weird.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and that's kind
and
of what I come to find. That's a good point.
yeah, but so it's one of those things. Like I said, they've been asking this question for years now. Our visual effects are outstanding. Eventually, it's going to destroy these other people. You won't be doing the puppets like the Frank Oz, like Yoda anymore. And I'm thinking, I disagree because of the fact that no matter how good it is, we're going to have 8K, blah, blah, blah. In fact, that might even hinder the graphics even more because you see more blemishes when you see clearer pictures. So the only way you're ever going to be able to show is either giving us different eyeballs or keep on the practical effects.
And I think just on a neat little kind of closing thing is directly when you mentioned the puppet thing. Mandalorian is literally based 90% on a puppet. Let's all just be honest for one moment. We fell in love with the Mandalorian
Grogu is
because
there. He's only visual effects. I remember Dave Filoni said he's only not actually there like 5% of the time, but he's actually there because you can see everyone's playing with him and they're like, oh, he's adorable in real life too. And
well, that and I think a part of the reason we all gravitated maybe so aggressively even to the Mandalorian, beyond all of its other outstanding features, is the idea that like with them making us believe that this little puppet is a real creature, we have a natural urge that we want to protect it. And we want to see it protected because it is clearly designed to be adorable and to make us feel like, oh, it's a puppy. It's how we're supposed to feel when we see it. And i.e., when we generate that emotional context to it, it just makes us want to come back and make sure, hey, the puppet's okay, right? Everything's okay. Despite that we know it's not real and it's a puppet, the way actors behave and portray themselves, that everything around them is real, it makes us buy into that puppet being real. And I think that is a strong standing point in the argument that visual effects, makeup effects will always be more they'll always be more effective than CGI. Always. But it's about utilizing them correctly. And
absolutely,
I think like just on the opposite side of that, when we watch the Avengers, you can watch any Avengers film and you realize a lot of that could not have possibly been done with visual practical effects because of the extraordinary level it is, right? And our brains are okay with saying Thor just threw like 9 robots out a window. Like he just used his hammer and it spun around and it carried him out into the sky. The Hulk just jumped 600 feet and he's running up a building grabbing that stuff. As long as it looks believable, I think that's okay. And I think the right areas is where it fits. I would love to see you see practical effects in the outfits and everything sometimes in the Avengers, right, when you watch it. But I don't know about you, but do your eyes ever kind of go, that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be wearing that. It's a little corny. It's a little weird. Like you're dressed kind of excessively silly for whatever you're going to be doing. It doesn't really matter what it is. Your cape is weird. However, when we're then shown the CGI generated Thor raising his hammer and calling lightning down and this billowing cape behind him, right? It's obviously the artistic rendering at that point that we're appreciating. We appreciate the visual aspect of it. And I think that's
sure. And if I saw Spawn and they try to have a big old blanket behind him and then trying to throw it all over the place, it's going to look like a disaster. I mean, I understand a visual effect. Like I said, you have Spawn there, real person, Jamie Foxx. He's going to be playing Spawn. You have his mask on. You have like a real mask, real everything. You know, they use good quality leather or whatever they use for his costume. And then they have the green little like shell eyes. And then you see visual effects like steam coming out of his eyes. And you see that visual chains coming out from his back and then his cape like kind of being
billowing
a weapon.
And like almost moving alive. Yep.
Yeah. I understand visual effects is going to be a way to do some of that stuff, but if you can possibly do like, let's say you want to have chains, have some real chains in there too. You know, throw a chain, have it hit something, you know, and then you'll see the weight of it, and then fill and then have a couple fake ones, you know, next to it, and your eye will maybe just kind of like, okay, I see real, so I'm
Yep.
good. And that's all I'm asking. And when you see something like Revenge of the Sith, where George Lucas goes, hey, we have technology, so let's go for the technology
Just
now.
paint it all. Yep.
Yeah, and sadly, even though it was obviously beautiful and what he was able to allow with the green screen and stuff, it still felt the whole time like it was fake. So it sucked. Even though it had the best choreography I've ever seen, the choreography even looked fake because first of all, everything around, and I hate anything that's too choreographed well. I hate it. I like more raw anyway. So like sword fighting and whatnot, I hate when every single sword is placed perfectly. I like when you miss and hit a tree and the tree falls. I like that kind of stuff. But uh, to see that kind of thing, I need to. I understand. I don't want to see, like, if there's a volcano behind them. I don't want to see almost like this weird little line around them, like where the green screen is, and
Yeah.
it's almost like, oh, I can almost see what's happening. I can almost see, but it's
It's
barely
breaking
not
your
noticeable.
immersion a little bit as you see that silhouette almost of like, that looks like made for TV. Why do I clearly see this as a green screen? Like you could go do it like an amusement park or a state park
Mm.
somewhere when you do like the I'm on the beach photo, you know? Um, I get that. I think it's great you bring up Spawn a little bit because I think moving forward, I think the idea of I think maybe I haven't. I've seen maybe we've transitioned really, really aggressively into the CGI and the general effects of that nature. But what you say about bringing in like a material thing or something to enhance the idea of the CGI, I think that's more important, and I think that's where maybe a lot of current film is beginning to falter, like you said. And you said it at the start that the CGI should only bring out the practical effect better. I.e., if he's wearing his Spawn suit and he has a chain wrapped around somewhere, and then we see a chain slither up to the side or something, something that just indicates this chain is more than just as it appears to be a simple chain. It's
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
spectacular or otherworldly. I think that helps sells the idea and the effect of not only the realism of the suit, right, that it actually is a real breathing organism or thing to us now, but the idea that like these moving spectral little weird chains or whatever they are, like that extra sound of when you throw the chain physically in the studio and it makes that solid connection,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden the
Mhm.
other ones just burst around visually. It helps bond me to the film and keep me in that sense of immersion, right? It helps keep me in the moment compared to, like you said, there could be great choreography and everything, but if I feel like you're standing in front of a green screen on a platform just swinging light, toy lightsabers, and I know they're toy lightsabers, I'm gonna not remember. Not only am I gonna remember your film fondly, but that particular part is gonna sour over time, no matter what I do. So I think it's cool. I think maybe I might just do more research and wonder and just see if maybe that's what Hollywood is starting to do. If they're starting to try and blend the two more instead of growing up, practical effects was all we had, kind of, in
Mhm.
cinema for me. Terminator's a perfect example of a fantastic practical effect. Terminator 2, it peels his hand off. Oh my god, that was traumatizing as a child. But
Terminator 2 is just
what a
a
fan.
masterpiece in
Oh,
every
dude,
single way.
so good.
Best sequel, I'd say it's probably the best sequel ever made
Oh,
too.
oh, that's a really
It's a
solid statement.
bold
I
statement,
agree.
but I
But I
think
think it
it's,
might be true. It's very good. It's
yeah.
fantastic. It's
I mean, I'd say
man.
it's better than the original. I mean, you can technically never say a movie's better than the original because the original is kind of the original thought is like what made it beautiful in the first place. But he said, hey, instead of Michael Bay in it, I'm going to James Cameron it and keep the story beautiful and elegant and somber and poetic and bittersweet, but yeah, still have the same kind of action pack too.
Yeah, yeah.
But you see, like you said, there's parts where you see half his face is taken off. And that's, by the way, if you look in the picture, guys, Stan Winston's the guy that he's wearing black and he's little white goatee. He's the guy who did all of Terminator stuff, and he
Oh,
did
really?
Jurassic Park, and he did a lot of Steven Spielberg stuff too.
Jurassic
And
Park.
he
Oh
might
god.
be the granddaddy, like in my opinion, the best of all time. But
Dude, if you got
he did
Jurassic Park under your belt, you're sold. You've already sold me. I will vote for that man for anything, under anything in that category, because no, Jurassic Park is probably the pinnacle of I'd still say, even to this day, the merger of practical to special effect. Jurassic Park, at no time did I ever genuinely really feel like those dinosaurs weren't real. And I mean, that's
mm,
that's a
mm.
a bold statement, considering the scene where what's his name, the large dude, he's sitting in the truck, he crashes, and the dude,
Oh,
yeah,
Wayne Knight. I
mhm,
don't remember his name in the movie, but
yeah,
or if you want to watch, if you watch Seinfeld, it's Newman.
Newman. But that scene is like one of the perfect examples of why practical effects should always be considered, because it it looks so alive. It moves in a very way that my brain says is real. It behaved so genuine to me that I still get anxiety when I see that scene. I still, knowing as a full-grown adult who's seen that film 20 times, when he's wiping his glasses off and he's panicking, he looks over and that it's just making that
Oh,
weird sound, and then the frills come out. It is amazing. And cinema, I feel like, has wandered too far from that. And I understand it's probably very costly. I hope that more of the stuff that I'm beginning to love, like obviously stuff like Mandalorian and things like WandaVision and things like, well, and again, I use that one very lightly. I don't know if I love WandaVision yet. But the idea of Altered Carbon, excuse me, and all these other shows and things, I really hope that there is more practical effects, but done more, sorry. I want the practical effect to be impactful, so I don't want a bunch of them. I don't want the underworld. I don't want rubber werewolves everywhere. I don't want rubber orcs and rubber urukai everywhere. I don't want that. I want to see them periodically spread throughout, but when I see them, I want it to be so immaculate, like those dinosaurs, that I want it to spark my imagination and make me believe that that's a real thing. Like, absolutely pull me into your film or into your story, so I am just enwrapped with what you've created. And I think these individuals don't get enough credit across the board, genuinely, because even I don't know their names or anything like that, and yet you just saying the Jurassic Park, I'm over here having an absolute panic attack, a fit over how awesome it is.
yeah.
So,
It's one of those things too. Stan Winston, like they brought him in to make the Predator suit. This is a guy. He did Jaws, and typically it's one of those things. Steven Spielberg made maybe the best, like 3 or 4 of the best 20 movies of all time, and he would always have John Williams as his composer, and he would always have Stan Winston as his makeup designer, and just have the same kind of people and the same brilliant people. And that's probably why Steven Spielberg might be the best director of all time, because he always had the best people working for him. But yeah, dude, Alien, Predator, The Thing, there, and then we can say, Frankenstein and Dracula, all these kind of things. There's been so many. I mean, Alien, in my opinion, is my favorite creature of all time. And I get people say, "Oh, what about Predator?" I'm like, "Oh, Predator's right there. Don't be wrong."
Alien's
But these are
great.
things
Good
that and you have, like I said, this is one of those scenes where there's a real person in a suit, and this is like it was filmed in 78 and came out in 79. You have a person in a suit, an alien. He's kind of just walking like an old horror movie, but the suit itself was so beautiful. And then they painted that beautiful story behind it. And listen to this, my friend.
I'm
Do you
ready.
know what they used to provide the sliminess for the alien?
No. What?
They bought hundreds of condoms and then melted them and then put them all over the creature, so it added that like sticky,
It's
yeah.
sticky
And then when
latexy, but
it would slime, it went,
ugh.
and it would come out of it. That was the condoms, melted condoms.
First off, this is the only reason anybody should listen to this show, is for Nick's insanely awesome repertoire of great cinema history that you didn't know. I did not know that. That's amazing.
Mhm.
But I think Alien's a great pick as far as both a creature to love and then also a practical effect. Like, knowing that it's still cool. You can watch the Alien film right now, original Alien. You can sit down and watch that sucker, and it is scary, it is unnerving, and every creature in there still looks genuine and real. Like, none of it looks like you could buy into all of it, and it sucks you in. Both the story, the atmosphere, and then the practical effect on top of it compile to make just a chilling and a claustrophobic film of absolute wonder.
And claustrophobic, you said it perfectly, Brent. The artist who designed Alien, H.R. Geiger, he's this like Swedish weird guy. I think he's Swedish or Austrian, something like that. But he was a weird dude, H.R. Geiger, and all of his art, all of his pictures of the alien was rape, which it would show phallics entering another being without their permission. And if you look at any of the pictures, type in H.R. Geiger like pictures, it'll show all these weird things of like male and female. And anyways, they wanted to show that idea in Alien, because the alien technically rapes its host. It puts something in the host without permission, and then something happens later on. They get impregnated.
No
Like
spoiler alert, but yeah, that actually, it's weird. I never thought about that. But yeah,
1979. Yeah, you
makes
guys
a ton
have
of
had like
sense.
45 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, spoiler alert. Hey,
Yeah.
you ruined it for me, you son of a
I was
bitch.
gonna go watch it yesterday. I was watching last night, and you did this. What are you gonna do? I was just about to watch it. I was just sitting down, listening to your stupid podcast. That's cool. I didn't. That's
But no, yeah,
fascinating. I didn't know that.
that's the thing. Like it comes with anything. If you can find whatever your hobby is, whatever you're doing, if you can find the realism in that and study it and be very good at understanding everything about that thing, and then all of a sudden you create this new idea set that we now use to this day. It's beautiful. And this is like times when they were trying things, because before these kind of alien effects, you have Frankenstein, which, don't get me wrong, I mean, that's about as badass as it gets, but it was just certain prosthetics that they'd change the shape of the head, and now all of a sudden they're changing everything. Like with Creature from the Black Lagoon, we've
Oh
talked about that
man, yeah.
before. Could you imagine building a suit where you have to have an actor swimming underneath the water, with some kind of breathing apparatus, and because you can't just take a mask off,
Yep.
so they had to figure that out, and then not only that, but they had to have it be scary too. I mean,
It makes you think of Monster
crazy.
Squad. It just in closing, just because I wanted to get
Oh,
to this real
Monster
quick.
Squad, cool.
Monster Squad is so great because I think the practical effects of that were astounding. They were basically every classic monster, and then they were modernized in practical effects for the time that they could for a silly
And they look
Goonies
good,
with.
too.
And it looked great. Oh my god, dude! The Creature from the Black Lagoon in that film looks just like the one from the old film, but it actually has color to it. The dude is actually like green
Yeah,
and
it's
blue,
scary too.
and it's
Scary,
creepy.
and it's fish like. It
Yes.
doesn't talk. I'm gonna get you. It's just like,
Yeah.
and it's scary. And the way they filmed it too, like I said, like you said perfectly, Goonies with monsters, and the movie is corny. It's not like
Oh, it's
Goonies isn't
so
corny.
No, this
Goonies
one is
isn't
so
corny.
yeah.
Goonies is a classic. It's great, and this is a classic for different reasons. It is corny, but only because they're taking a tried and true method and they're mixing it up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But the monsters themselves, and you said it, and not only the makeup effects great, but the acting from the monsters was great. So
Yeah.
it's intimidating. It's like when I remember those three vampire women that he just got done changing, when they're all like in the street and they're all like, and they have blood coming from their mouth, and they're just walking over to them. And I'm sitting there going, this is a Goonies, but this is kind of scaring the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And then when then Dracula takes that little girl and he picks her up like this, and he goes, "You bitch," and he goes, and you see his teeth, and it's just like, okay, that wouldn't have worked typically, but the actor was scary enough to where I was like, oh, okay.
The thing with that film is, again, the effects for the monsters, like you just said, they're so good. You can watch that film, and the writing of it has clearly lost itself. That film wanders so many ways and does a whole bunch of shit that you're like, this doesn't make any goddamn sense. Nothing these kids are saying, nothing. This doesn't make any sense. But the monsters behave like all of it is so real and genuine that they're the Wolfman. He comes like busting through a wall and he runs around and he's like, he changes and does all the painful kind of Wolfman stuff. There's the creepy lagoon guy just around. He's just around and it's weird. It's so goofy, but the time and love that was put into all those monsters makes it so timeless, because everything else about that film probably we just watched, like I said, it kind of falls apart. But looking at those monsters again has literally just it lets that film carry on. You could sit down with your 8-year-old if you want to watch something goofy for Halloween that's fun, but also will give them a little spook. You can put Monster Squad on and it works. It works 100%. And
it's like an easy PG-13 movie. You want to watch, your 10-year-old wants to watch it with you, and they're like, and you want to watch kids around that age, and it's like, hey, do you remember that Goonies movie we watched? Yeah, well, let's watch one with monsters instead, and it's actually a decent movie.
It works out. Yeah, and it's, and I think in closing, it's that idea that the practical effects help it hold. Because the rest of that film falls apart, but you can always go back and look at those practical effects on those monsters and the time and energy and love it took. And again, the dedication of the actors to make it spooky. There's just something so special about that. And especially in cinema, that it provides us these wonderful nostalgic feelings, but these abilities to go back and share them with people later on. And it's, like you said, you can watch Clone Wars and all that stuff or whatever right now, whatever terrible films that, what's his name did, because I hate him that much.
Attack of the Clones, my friend. Clone Wars is an excellent TV show, you son of a bitch.
Sorry. You can watch all that, and despite it's a fun, rompy film, so to speak, it doesn't feel worth revisiting because of, like you said, now, as we've developed 20 years down the line, and there's just different CGI progress out there, you feel so ingenuine. You feel so lied to. You feel so like, not even the wool is pulled over your eyes. It's just like, hey, look, there's 1,000 drones out here. Do you see them all? Look at them marching. And you're like, yeah, but like I can see you have like a weird blur around you, Mr. Jackson. Why do you have a Miss Samuel? Why can you clean that up? I don't know what's going on.
He just has a big penis. That's all that is.
Oh, that's what it is. It's
It's Samuel Jackson. He definitely has a big penis. I mean, that's
the aura of the penis. I respect that. But then you go back to Monster Squad, and you're like, this film is corny and dumb as hell, but those monsters look pretty damn good. Those monsters still look pretty goddamn good. And I think that's the selling point of anybody who's like me, who's kind of like, I was very uneducated in this, but hearing your passion for it and now realizing how much practical effects actually still means to me in cinema and still how it holds true. It's fascinating. It's such a fascinating topic that I never got to explore until we got to sit down and chat. So, Nick, thank you for sharing your knowledge, man. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have much more to discuss with you offline, and I could go ahead and get you to make a monster mask before you even know it.
Dude, if you make me a monster mask, I'll be that would be amazing. You make me
I took a class with the winner of Face Off, that sci-fi show where they make monsters.
Where they made those.
I actually met the winner the season 4 winner at Chicago Comic-Con, and I ended up. It was Chicago. It was Chicago. And I ended up going to take classes with him in Chicago and made a mask with him and everything. It was pretty cool. But yeah, this whole thing, the whole thing has been awesome with masks, because that's my first job I wanted to do. And the only reason why I didn't do it, sadly, is because I always thought this is not going to really get anywhere. But it's just one of those stupid things that still going strong. So I don't have regrets, because I got to make masks and have fun with making them, but it's just one of those things that I need to start doing it again.
I think you should do it. I would love to see more of it. I know you used to share that on Facebook. Didn't you used to post those on Facebook?
Yeah, I could share. Yeah. I need to dig it up. I have some masks sitting somewhere. I remember showing it to some people, but didn't really think anything of it because I was moving right before I stopped doing it. So I just getting out of the Navy and everything. You know that is. Getting out of the Navy and everything else is
secondary.
Is second, yeah. Because getting out of the Navy, first of all, what a pain in the ass that was.
Dude, we could bitch about that for hours.
I know we could talk about that forever, but before I let you go,
yes.
Have you seen the movie The Thing? 1980, John Carpenter, The Thing.
Yeah, the old school The Thing. Mm-hmm. It could be anyone.
Well, the old school ones, they came from outer space. It's like
you're talking The 30s Thing. Or 40s. Again, Carpenters. They were in the Antarctic and all that.
Yeah, John Carpenter. You need John Carpenter does, but yeah, watch The Thing, and if you want to see what you could have done with practical effects back in the day, and they were trying to do that whole thing where they replicate human, and then the human would walk up with tentacles, and watch it. Even though there's parts when you're like, okay, this is definitely 80s. If you want to see the best special makeup effects, like constantly going for it, watch The Thing, and it's just constantly in your face, disturbing.
Dude, body horror. That film is so full of body horror, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't even like talking about it. I mean, it's not I don't like talking about it, but it reminds me of like the pile, that thing was like, dude, it's so gross. It's so goddamn gross. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's awful.
Whenever the guy's trying about ready, like, because the guy's heart stops, he tries to pump him back up, and then the stomach opens up and then swallows his hands.
Yeah, oh, dude, this is so gross.
Yeah, I was like, what? And then of course you're not thinking that was going to happen, so you're like, what the hell?
Oh, dude, it's so. Oh, dude, he screams as he's bro, uncomfortable, so uncomfortable. All right, Nick, we have to pick a topic for next week. And ladies and gentlemen, just so everybody knows now, we are still working to get our pattern set down, but it seems like we will be live Thursdays on Twitch at the twitch.tv/nerdfrenzypodcast, which then at some point will also be uploaded to YouTube for your viewing pleasure. Is that correct, Nick? Is that about where we're lying right now?
Yep, pretty much, my friends. Once I annoy Brent enough to give me the video, then I will start working on it.
Yeah. So we have our system where you can catch us Thursday night, 8:30 to about 9:30 usually, depending on how long we decide to rant and yell about WandaVision and other stuff that had nothing to do with what we were talking about tonight. We'll be here, and then yes, it will be uploaded to YouTube within the following few days. We'll start there, but once we have a system down where I'm not a piece of shit, it'll be much more clear.
Oh, stop. Yeah, guys, it's just, we're going to film when we can film. That's just the thing. I'm doing this to hang out with Brent. I'm not doing this for any other reason.
That's all I wanted to hear you say. That's all I truly
want. And I'll do because what I'm planning on doing is by myself, I'll just do my review stuff. But when it comes to this podcast, I'll whenever I can do it with you, because like I said, I almost did the other day without you, and it didn't feel right. So that's fine. If something happens where you can't make it, then I'll do a review video of a really good TV show I just watched or something.
I love it. Nick, pull from the cup of wonder, the cup of
Okay.
what is it, like the cup of
Cup of
splendors,
wealth.
the cup of wealth? Ooh, I like that too.
So this is like I said, my friend William Hamner Du Bois Jr., my best friend, childhood friend. He was an Air Force pilot. He passed away sadly, but he gave this to me right before he did, and it's an honor I get to pull from this every single week with you, Brent.
A true and genuine
it means
honor.
a lot. Yeah. He was Air Force though, so maybe not as much of an honor.
No, as much. I mean, he did his damn thing. He suffered a little bit at least, right? Minuscule.
Well, I mean, the cheer force, they do have to like come up with cheers and stuff, but
yeah, and that can't be
that's
easy.
probably hard.
You know, 6 days a week. You can probably do it 5 days, not to. But that 6 is probably a hell of a. We're gonna get roasted. Someone's gonna fucking.
Yeah, he was a badass fighter pilot for a little bit of it, but the rest of the time he was dancing around like little cheerleader that he was. Yes.
Unreal. Some people, you know.
I'm joking. Little military humor for you guys.
Yep.
Navy's the best.
Yep.
All right, guys. So I've been wanting to get this for a while. This is something that I've been excited because I can talk about this. I read the books, and that is Harry Potter.
Damn it!
What does that mean? I hate that.
Yes, I don't like Harry. I don't like it. I don't.
We definitely have to do it now.
I can talk about it forever. I just don't like it. And Crystal loves it. And my dad, let me tell you this real quick, just on the topic itself. I don't like Harry Potter, and I don't like it. And the only reason I don't like it is because I am very particular in the fantasy I consume and enjoy. Tolkien and Malazan and Wheel of Time and Forgotten Realms, all that stuff is the fantasy I like.
Forgotten Realms, they don't make that many good stuff.
They make basic cookie cutter stuff, and I don't mind
cookie cutter. That's not fun.
It's not necessarily fun.
You talking about like Drizzt and stuff like that?
I like dwarves and dragons
like
and elves.
The first 3 Drizzt books were good.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, Salvatore carried him so far and beyond. But the idea
I'm just kidding about the Forgotten Realms thing, by the way. But
nope. We're all taking it very serious.
No, I'm mad, Nick.
Yeah, I'm upset. But the point is, Potter is so, to me, it's so, Expelliarmus and wands, and we're all kids gonna save the day that adults should be handling all this. And it's one of the, I'm particular to my fantasy. This doesn't hit my fantasy button. However, my father loves the movies. He loves them.
I love the books and the movies. The movies were somewhat faithful. They were just way too short.
I was stunned that I know my dad loves Tolkien. I know he loves Lord of the Rings. He loves all that stuff. He loves Star Wars. He loves all that fantasy type stuff. And then when he's like, "Oh, I really love those Harry Potter movies," I felt betrayed a little emotionally. No. But I got to be in the minority. I definitely am in the minority. So I'm excited to talk with you about
you and the people who wouldn't let their kids read because it has witchcraft in it.
Yeah. Well, those are idiots.
I'll put you in their categories. You'd be the weirdo.
Remind me after this call. I got to tell you a story real quick about witchcraft because I think it makes me think back to those idiots and people are dumb. Let's just go with that. That is the most asinine reason in the world. You can't read
say Harry Potter and people are dumb in the same sentence, okay? I don't want to hear that, okay? Right. I want to hear Harry Potter and aren't people great? Okay?
I respect people who read Harry Potter just to stuff it to somebody who said there's witchcraft in it. That's the only good thing I love about Harry Potter is the idea that someone went, "Oh, there's witchcraft is there," and they read all the books and said, "I don't know how to cast a spell yet, but fuck you, I read Harry Potter." That's I want.
I like it.
All right, Harry Potter it is. Son of a bitch.
All right, my friends. Yeah, you do your Harry Potter thing. Luckily, you have someone that can tell you everything that you need to know about it. But at the end of the day, if you don't wise up, then I don't want to do this with you anymore.
Yeah,
okay?
That's fine, I guess. I mean, I'll change my attitude, I guess. Hooray!
Would you rather
Harry
talk
Potter.
about the Nazis? Okay, Brent. Jeez.
I would rather talk about any other fantasy series. No, okay, that's a lie. I will put Harry Potter above Twilight for me personally because Harry Potter at least has.
Twilight's a joke, man.
I know it. That's why my ranking is Harry Potter
is, and you can obviously tell that Harry Potter is at least written or directed well. It's just maybe not your style, but
yeah, I'll give it that.
Obviously tell that's very good quality.
Harry Potter is better than Twilight. That's where my ranking system is. So when I say I'd rather read
sure
any other fantasy.
Twilight's a 2 out of 10, and it's like a really like unrealistic love story with the common girl who gets the most best looking guy in the world. And it made me kind of cringe because it's just a woman, stay-at-home mother who's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna write little kid porn pretty much, and then I'm going to be a better selling author than Stephen King.
Well, look, man. Admittedly, if you got the idea, and you can get 8-year-olds and 13-year-olds to buy your books at a record. Despite my hate of Harry Potter, if I had written them, I would not be ashamed. I would say, yes, I wrote all those books because look at all the money I have. I can write a whole other series of books that are awful, fund them myself, just so you can see that they're, right?
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. How about Fantastic Waste of My Time?
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Have you been working on that one?
I would have written it down. I would have been like, oh, I can't wait to tell that joke. But luckily, that literally just happened. That's my one for the day.
That was good. That was actually really, really good. Well, look, we'll talk about fucking Harry Potter and why you love it, and maybe you'll change my mind. Crystal hasn't been able to yet, but who knows? Maybe you'll.
I'll change your mind. I'll send you some pictures of me in a Harry Potter robe, and I'll change your mind.
Well, you at anything will not necessarily change my mind, but will always be welcome, so that's fine. Nick, I'm sure you have a family to get to. Thank you for picking Harry Potter, despite my visceral reaction to being upset.
I'm going to pick something even better than that next week, just so you can cringe even more.
God, I hate everything. Can't wait.
I wasn't Harry Potter. I thought, is he excited or pissed?
He is upset. He is very upset.
Hey Nick, offline, seriously though, I'm not doing the show next week, asshole.
Yeah, I'm dead, I think.
I have to work again, I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it, and then I'll come next week.
Yeah, you go ahead and talk about that dumb shit. I don't care anymore. You talk about Harry Potter. I don't care. Oh, Nick, thank you so much for your time, brother. I love doing this with you. I genuinely do. Thank you so much for allowing me to steal an hour and a half of your time and just rant and rave and yell. It constantly brings me happiness and joy into the space that is my life. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's one of those things like we never stay on topic, and I don't care because I just enjoy being random and ranting with you, because if I do it to my wife, then she can only take it for about 4 hours, and then she has to okay, stop, please.
Yeah, you can stop. Knock it off. Please knock it off. Yep, I get it.
All right, and I'll definitely rant about Harry Potter next week as much as I can.
Yeah, you will have the show. You will have the floor, sir. I'm sure, because it's just gonna be going, fuck, don't like Harry Potter, I don't like it. Just crossing my arms like a 6-year-old. I don't like it. It's not what I like. This is a lot of fun, Nick. Thanks for inviting me. It's different. I don't like it. Don't like different things. Give me orcs. Give me orcs and golem. You're
Bill Maher at a Christian event. That's how you're going to be.
Yeah, basically. A lot of that.
All right, buddy. Well, I'll talk to you later, my friend. Everyone, the Nerd Frenzy Podcast at gmail.com. Send us any comments with any movie or any music or anything you want us to talk about. Anything. Goods, bads. I don't care. I don't block bad comments because I think that's stupid.
Yeah.
Unless you call me ugly, then I'm going to block it.
You have to block those because they're just a lie.
I'm not ugly. I'm beautiful.
Yeah, they're just a blatant lie. We don't do that here. All right. We are very informative and knowledgeable of our topics.
Okay, buddy. Well, I'll talk to you later, my friend. Everyone, take care. Have a safe night. And I love all you. And I love you, Brent. Take care, buddy.
I love you, Nick. All right, guys. We'll catch you later. We're going out. Bye, guys.
The Nerd Frenzy Podcast.